We made it back. So
We
first,
did.
I want to thank you, Brett, for scheduling this and allowing some stranger to jump in your DMs and you to be like, yeah, sure, let's do this. Why not? So first of all, I
Yeah, of
appreciate you. And
course.
because I don't know how these are going to release yet, I just want to give everybody the same thing at the beginning of this. We are recording this in between week 17 and week 18. So whatever happens in week 18, if we don't talk about it, it is because this is recorded before that happened. So that's the first call out. And then the second thing is this is NFL football. We are just going to have a conversation. We're going to talk all things Packers because there's nothing better than talking to a fan about their team. At least that's how I feel. I feel like big media, nobody cares anymore. Like let's talk to the fans. Let's talk about the people who like care, who are breathing this, who like every day I'm like, what do the Steelers do?
Yeah.
So, and caution to everybody, this is being recorded just after Texas, whatever they were doing against Arizona State. So if I go off on a tangent, I want to apologize on behalf of my blood pressure probably still not being normal. So having said all of that, how are you, Brett? If you want to introduce us to you, so that we know a little bit about you, where we can find you, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate you doing this. It was any chance that I get to talk Packers, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and hence our name. This I created this group with a couple buddies back home. We're all from Northeast Iowa, called Packers Diehards. So you can imagine we're pretty passionate about our team.
Yeah.
We founded it a couple years ago. It started just from a group chat that was also called Packers Diehards, and I actually moved away. I've been living in Florida here for coming on 5 years now,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and it's just been a way of us to stay connected all throughout high school. Packers fans, and we
Sorry, I'm being
talk
very distracting. Sorry.
every
Go ahead.
year or every day about our Green Bay Packers, and
So before you even started it, y'all were already talking
yeah,
about it. And okay.
yeah. So
I
like, let's
like
put
that.
it out there. So yeah, we're our main one is on X. Got about 4,000 followers, and I've been trying to see how we can expand, but it's we've got some success there and interactions there, and we love all the interactions from other fans too.
I love that. You know what's actually interesting is, and this is just a caveat, I have the hardest, there's certain sectors of fans that I can't find. It's just hard for me to find them. Packers fans are one of the fan bases where it's like, I don't know. I don't know where they hang out. I don't know where they hang. My
Really?
team hardly ever plays them. So it's like, sometimes you fan bases because your team plays them. And so you
Sure.
start to, but we don't really play that often. So it's like a hard fan base for me to track down. Same with like Seattle. It's just like, we don't really play them, so it's hard for me
Mhm.
to find them. They don't pop up on my feed, things like that. So I'm
Yes,
just
the algo.
excited. Yeah, like, and even when I reached out to you, the Packers were actually playing the Vikings. And
Ugh.
once I reached out to you, I started to get a couple of more, but that was the first time I had
Mhm.
ever gotten Packers access. So I'm saying that here. So now maybe I'll start getting a stream of, because I try to follow all
Yeah,
fan bases. I love football fan bases in the NFL. I don't think there's anything better. So
yeah. You'll start
just had
seeing our mutuals pop up
yeah,
after.
right. I know. All of a sudden, we're gonna have all these friends in common.
Yep.
Well, so having said that, how have you felt this season? How have you? I was kind of joking with you before, and I'm like, hey, at least you guys have an offense that can score points. So how is that
Mhm.
having a quarterback that you know who your quarterback is going to be? He's young. He can move the ball down the field. How has your season been having that?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm really optimistic with the squad that we got. I don't think there's anything that we really need to, focus centrally as like a core issue. I think going into last year, you can check the receipts. Packers diehards. We were Jordan Love backers from the beginning, even when he
Nice,
was
good.
struggling, and we kind of just saw that he had it in him, and he picked up where he left off from last year, putting a decent season together this year. Missing a few games, so it's not all flashy when you take a look at the stats. But overall, we're a super young team. I think we're still the
Hmm.
youngest team in the NFL.
I was gonna
So
ask that. Okay.
there's some growing to do, but I think this season we've seen some pretty big steps taken by a lot of the young guys, and some new guys coming in as well. We're really excited for a couple rookies and a couple veterans, that big offseason signings that we made in Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. So I think overall, we're sitting at 11-5. But man, you got the Vikings and Lions ahead of you. We're like the first 11, possibly 12 win team that gets third place in their division. It's a really, really unique situation, and I'm
Yeah.
not really how to feel about it. Like third place, yeah, but we had a stellar season, really, when you kind of think about it, making the playoffs and everything going by.
I Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. I
Mhm.
mean, one year in the AFC North that happened to us with the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bengals and the rate. Like one year, I think we were all like really good, and
Mhm.
then I think the Browns tanked because that's what the Browns do. But most of us were like really good, and it's a weird place where you're like we could probably beat anybody that's not in our division,
Yeah.
but the people in our division are going to beat us. So it's like this weird, weird place to be. I will tell
Mhm.
you though, as somebody that's not a Packers fan, when I watch the Packers play, I always say I never know what I'm going to get from them in a positive way, if that makes sense. And I think it's because they're young. I never
Yeah.
know how they're going to win or how they're going to lose or
Mhm.
if the defense is going to step up. What is the secondary going to look like? What does the pass rush look like? Oh, okay, you're right. Jordan Love, right? So it's like I never know, and I think that that's good. I think when you're young, it's kind of good because you don't know, right? You're establishing who you want to be. So better than us.
Yeah.
So you're doing something right.
Yeah. That's something that, the inconsistency this year has been a little frustrating,
Yeah.
shooting ourselves in the foot a lot, some drop passes, but again, when you got such a young squad, it's expected. You kinda
Yeah.
just hoped that, a lot of that experience and mistakes were fixed last year and the first half of this year, but some of that's bleeding into the second half of the season, and you hope that all gets cleaned up going into the postseason.
Yeah, kind of like when your field goal kicker has sucked all year, and then your field goal kicker comes out to win you the game in the college football playoffs, and he misses 2 field goals that he shouldn't. Yeah,
Mhm.
problems
There's
you
the
thought were going to
Texas
get fixed the year
tangent. Yep.
before. I'm
But we
not
had
upset
that
about that
too.
at all.
We had that too. We were struggling for like 8 weeks with the kicker, and then we signed McManus, going in mid-season, and he's been stellar for us. So
Yeah, I always
um,
tell people too, the playoffs, everything gets a little tighter. So it's like the
mhm,
things that might not have cost you before because the competition's kind of whatever. Now all of those things, it's like spotlight. Oh, your pass rush isn't really that great. Spotlight. You really
mhm,
can't stop the run. Spotlight. It's like all of
mhm.
the things. So I love that. What do you think? What do you think the strength is of Green Bay this year?
I gotta say, Josh Jacobs in our run game, it's
I
been
agree.
so well established and kind of a breath of fresh air for Packers
Yeah.
fans. Honestly, it's not something we've gone by. Having Aaron Rodgers at the helm for so many years, and we relied on him, and he carried us through so many postseasons and seasons. But it's kind of it's nice, and I knew when we picked him up, he had quite the rapport at Alabama and his phenomenal season in 22 with the rushing.
Yep.
And so we knew what we were getting. I think some fans were a little skeptical on how he would fare in our system or how he would fare going from such a heavy loaded run team when he was in Las Vegas. And it felt like Matt LaFleur was like, all right, we'll rush, 20 to 30 times a game and we'll be
I
that
love
team. We'll
that.
use him as that bell cow. So
Good
establishing the
for
run
Matt
early and
LaFleur.
often has been the strength of this team, and our offensive line has been great, honestly, in the run blocking and pass protection for Jordan Love. So
Does the fan base like Matt LaFleur?
I would say for the most part,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, you're
You
always
got
going to have the people that are like fire him, and then you're always going to have the people like he's perfect, he does no wrong. But
100%.
like, what is like most people though like him and think
Yeah.
he's the right? Okay.
Yeah, most people do. I think our fan base is really privileged, and like we've had really good
Head coaches.
franchise for many years, and
Hmm.
so any minor like for instance on Sunday we just an atrocious game against Minnesota, and you had people calling for his head, of course. There's a lot of recency bias, so I try to block that stuff out and think like overall I think he's done a really good job dealing with injuries early on in the season. When Malik Willis came in, that was he had a game plan
Right.
set, and he did a great job of coming out with wins. So,
I thought that was, in my opinion, that is the most underrated trade that
mhm,
happened this year. It's like a sneaky good trade.
mhm.
Well,
It
that's
worked out
awesome.
perfectly.
Yeah, and yeah, I love it when that happens when you don't know how something's going to work, and then when it happens, you're kind of like, you know what? Okay, this makes sense, and
Yep,
he can learn, and he can develop, and he can be all the things we need him to be eventually, just not right now. And maybe if Jordan loves the guy, then you trade him away and you get even more draft picks for him. So,
exactly, yeah. Get
so
some more
good
out of
business deal. What do you think a weakness of your team? I feel like whatever you say, I'm going to be triggered, so I'm just calling that out now. But what do you think a weakness would be of your Packers team?
Honestly, just touch on what I said earlier, the inconsistencies and penalties.
Oh
It
gosh, that's
feels
so
it
frustrating.
feels like a lot of it's self-inflicted.
Do y'all have a
And
lot of pre-snap penalties, or are they like during the play penalties?
most of them are like during most of them
Okay,
are post. So it's not like they're not getting set. I think it's just some like bonehead mistakes.
got it. Okay.
A lot of stupid holding calls. Like I was just gassing up the offensive line, but we've struggled with some of those calls in the season. But I think the biggest thing is the penalties and the inconsistency in getting the offense going. I feel like we can, we put up
I'm
30-point games or almost. But then sometimes it just like stalls out and it's completely dead. Like the Minnesota game, I'll go right back to it because it's recent. 3/4, they were, a
Yeah.
Houdini act. Did they get off the bus? Were they playing? And then the fourth quarter, they're going off like they just, are Super Bowl champions trying to
But
prove themselves.
didn't they do that the first time you guys played Minnesota?
Copy paste. Yeah.
Okay, because wasn't it like 21 or 28-0 or something like that?
Yeah, 28-0 going into halftime, and we came back, and it ended up being 29-31. They kicked a field.
Okay.
They only had 3 points, and we scored
And the
29.
second, and I felt like there's another game where I thought it was like,
The
I'm like,
Lions.
what is Green Bay doing? And then I was like, oh, now they're here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think so. I wonder what that is. Because like the Steelers, whatever, but we do that too. It's like we'll have a whole quarter where I'm like, did we forget to play football? The Texas Longhorns do that too, where I'm just like, did we forget? Is it? Are we stalled? Are we not focused? Are the play calls bad? Do we suck? Like what is going on? And but you guys, so you all have a young football team. So I'm wondering how much of that is just the lack of that that instinct, the lack of that, like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, get focused. Every possession we get, we need to get focused. And it's like, sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, you'd want to say, oh, they're young and the inexperience and everything, but a lot of these guys are 2-year players.
Yeah.
And they got the reps, and at this point in the season, you'd hope they have enough to fit the mold of this is NFL football and the speed of the game and everything. So, yeah. You wonder coaching, and that's what some avenues that fans take, and they want to blame that on coaching. And some of it is warranted, and the coaches take their responsibility, take accountability for it. But it's been a question that we've had on our podcast a lot. We're trying to figure out, why do we just decide to show up and then not,
So here's the thing about this. I have a lot of experience with this because the Steelers do it, but theirs is play calling and personnel because I'm like, who are these people coming? Like, this isn't usually what we do. And then the next time I'm like, oh, okay. So why do we even try? Anyways, but then Texas has this third quarter thing where they've been doing this third quarter thing all year. And we're like, what are y'all talking about in the locker room? Like, what happens? It's like, anyway, so I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just certain teams. I don't know. Like, whoever figures that out, by the way, if you're listening to this and you figure it out, write a book because whatever it is, it happens and it's frustrating because you're like, I don't know this team. I actually don't know them. So
yeah, if there's any football fans that are psychologists too, start like
I am one, and I have no clue. That's why I'm like, and that's why I always tell people like the psychology though of sports is the more you put out, like the more you put out there, the better off you'll be, if that makes sense. So it's like if it's not working, you fix it, you change it, and you move on. But I think what happened, so we're kind of on a tangent here, but just for like a little backstory about me is I played volleyball for lots of years and coached volleyball for a lot of years. What I've learned about sports, similar to volleyball, 6 people are on the field. There's 11 people on the field in football. Sometimes like 1 or 2 people just literally aren't focused. And because you're not focused, everybody else did exactly what they were supposed to do. But you let the one guy run directly at you and you actually stalled out our entire production because you weren't focused. So I think sometimes what happens is there's certain individuals that stall out everything, because it happens in volleyball too. It's like we get 3 touches and the person that gets the second touch just has a moment and you're like, what was that? And now we can't do anything. And but what I've noticed is the good teams, that happens less and less. So maybe
that's a good point.
It's like, where do your socks go in the washer?
Yeah, so maybe with all these young guys, it's harder to get a well-oiled machine and everyone working in conjunction. All it takes is 1 or 2 guys derp up, and then the momentum's gone, or the drive's killed by a drop. We've had those like 3rd and longs or 4th down conversions. It's like right there in his hands and he drops it. It's like that. Not only kills
what is the
drive,
guy's name? Is he number 9? Number 9?
Watson.
Is he the one that usually drops?
No, he's had a couple. Dontavian Wicks has been struggling this year, and 13.
Okay, so I'm like,
Reed's kind of also had some questionable drops.
Reed was the guy I was thinking about.
Yeah, the one on a 4th down drop.
Yeah, okay. I usually know players by number. On other teams, even sometimes my team, I'm like, who? The number 6. What's his name? So that's how, like, Texas's quarterback, I call him 3 normally, but when I come on camera, I'm like, Quinn Ewers. Nobody knows who 3 is. So anyway, I'm not even going to talk about Quinn. Way to lead us back, Quinn, to win the game. Whatever.
Just enough to stick around, right?
And it's just good enough, right? Like, just good enough to where when I say something, I'm going to sound crazy, but also I'm right. But he's also, so it's like, such as football. So
you feel that way about Russell Wilson? Okay,
so you want me to be triggered? Great.
Yes.
Okay. I thought we were friends. Obviously, I was wrong. So I think the Steelers have a couple of issues. I think the first issue is some of it is on Russ, because he feels the need to press. And it's almost like his lack of trust of what we're doing, because the second issue is the play calling doesn't help us sometimes. So it's almost like he's pressing because he doesn't know if we're going to call a good game. And then we play Cordell Patterson, which doesn't make any sense. So there's like a lot of weirdness that happens. And then our offensive line is so young. I mean, I don't think we have anybody over 3 years in our offensive line. Like, I think we have 2 rookies. And 3 of the other guys, I believe they're all like 2nd year, 3rd year guys. So it's like, so we're young, we have George Pickens. I love George Pickens. I love a guy that has a little bit of attitude to him. Like, I love that. Like, I love that. But I just don't think he trusts the offensive play calling. So he presses. I mean, I don't know. I always say that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have you don't have a quarterback, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because the guy should be the guy. And Russ is the guy, but is he the guy when you're running on Justin Fields to do special little tricks?
Right.
So anyways, And speaking of that, like, why didn't we see Arch Manning when Texas played? But whatever. I'll move on. So that's what I think about. That's what I think about Wilson. And if Justin Fields came out and was the starter, I wouldn't be upset. I think what happens sometimes in football, and I'm curious to know if you think this, coaches they're pressed and expected to do so much and win now, when sometimes the best option is actually to throw out maybe the next guy and work with him for a year so that next year he's ready, kind of like you all did with Jordan Love. Because I felt like, obviously you have Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to play Jordan Love over Aaron Rodgers. I got it.
Right.
But then when Jordan Love played last year, because I think last year you all played us like in week 3 or week 2, whatever, early, and he didn't look that great. But you stayed with him, right? You keep him focused. You keep him locked in. And he gets better and better. But I don't think teams do that enough. And I
agree. And that's what I was kind of saying about us. We like to gloat about how we were Jordan Love truthers, even in the hardest times, because we had some fans calling for Sean Clifford, the backup the rookie that we drafted from Penn State. And we're like, by like week 4, and it was like, guys, let's just chill out here a little bit. Like, he's been in the system for 3 years. He learned some stuff from Rodgers, and it came out, to fruition. So we're very happy that happened. But I totally agree that sometimes they might pull the plug or pull the rug out from the player a little too early.
Too fast, because they have to win, and it's like you're losing in sake of you're winning, and you're not. This isn't right. So, but again, I have so many thoughts about NFL coaching staff sometimes, and I'm like, who is responsible for clock management? Because some of these teams,
this season's been weird. I'm glad
it's bad,
really bad. I don't know.
Like, I don't know. And I don't know how you watch football. We're kind of off on a tangent, but it's okay. This is football talk. So I'm one of those people that like when my team gets the ball back and there's 4 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock, I'm already thinking, okay, we have 2 timeouts. Okay, how many first downs do we have to get to run this clock out? That's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like dialed in.
Same.
Why aren't the coaches thinking that? And then you throw the ball, and I'm like, what do we? No, like bring it back. So it's like the clock management. They need. I don't know what it is, but it's been very bad this year, I think. So
I agree. I don't know if they're trying different things or what, but clearly it's not been working for
it's working.
coaches.
Since when is it second down and you need to milk the clock and you don't run the ball? I don't know.
I think maybe it's in the hurry up. They're trying to add too many adjustments and everything because you'll see the quarterbacks going through adjustments in like 10, 15 seconds run off the clock. You're like, what are you doing? Call a timeout or do something quick. Like Aaron Rodgers is really good at that. But
Aaron Rodgers is very good at that. Yeah, the Steelers had an instance where it's like we let 27 seconds run off the clock and then we finally call the timeout. And I'm like, but why are we now calling a timeout? Like, what were we doing? And then I will say too, the officials also, somebody needs to tell the people that manage the clock that if the official throws a flag, the clock stops.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of games where the clock hasn't stopped and officials are throwing flags. Yeah. And again, like little things I'm paying attention to. And I'm just like, no one's going to realize, okay, 13 seconds is right off the clock. Like no one's going to say anything. No. Okay. So
yeah, I'm very analytical like that too. And sometimes I'm like, am I the only one that noticed that?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
I go to Twitter and I start searching a few words.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes in my videos, I say that I am like, let me talk to you about the sequence so that we all know what happened and why this is annoying. And people are like, I didn't even realize that. I'm like, oh gosh, come on. We got to focus. We got to be focused here. Mm-hmm. So I always say I'm not an X's and O's girl, but I can tell you anything about like just random stuff, like, logistics. There we go. I'm a logistics football watcher. Mm-hmm. I love that. So you're in the NFC North and 2 of your teams, including you, are going to make the playoffs. Is there anybody, I'm assuming you don't want to play a division rival because nobody wants to play a division rival in the playoffs usually, but is there anybody for you, maybe even in your division, that you are like, I would love to avoid such and such team. I don't want any part of anything they have going on in this playoffs.
Admittedly, I never want to say I want to avoid a team. But I would say I'd like to avoid a team until I really love to play the Lions in the NFC Championship. So if we can avoid them until then and then get their number called then and try and make our amends. They've had our number the past couple years. And I don't know what it is, if it's like Matt LaFleur just shakes in his boots when he's across the field from Dan Campbell or what. But it seems that you get outclassed and outplayed,
Do you all have the thing in your division where it's like you guys always beat the Bears and then the Bears always beat the so-and-sos and do y'all have that in your division where it's like, do the Vikings always beat or do the Lions always, like, how does that usually work for you all?
The one that you said, we always beat the Bears. Okay. But the other two, there's been a lot of parity the past, 5 seasons or so. Like we've all had our get backs and
got it. Okay, cool.
And whatnot. But I would say the Lions, they've got some bragging rights over the Packers the past few seasons. They've just been beating us. That would be a great, like I said,
story.
I don't want to play them first round, second round, when it's meaningless. I'd love to kick them out in a big game before they got to make it to the Super Bowl. And just remember that they're our little brother,
I'm on record as being really excited for the Lions. So just because I
get it. I get it.
Yeah. I like the Cinderella and I always tell people it's not my division and it's not my conference. So I get to be that way.
Right.
So I was actually hoping the Arizona Cardinals figured it out this year, but they got close, but not, I was going to be a bandwagon Cardinals fan for the playoffs just because it would have been fun, but they always find a way to not.
Yeah,
not quite.
They kind of like start hot and they look hot and then they're just.
And see, again, like, what is that? Like, what is that mentally where it's like, I mean, because then they lose to like the Panthers and it's like, guys, like, how do you lose to the Panthers? So let's say we are having this conversation 3 minutes after the Packers just won the Super Bowl. So you just won the Super Bowl. It's all over. We're 3 minutes after. What reason would you say that the Packers won the Super Bowl? Like, who would you say, or what would be the thing where you would say, we won the Super Bowl because of this?
It's going to come down to our defense. I want to say it's going to come down to Jordan Love and co showing up and putting a lot of points on the board. But the story has been in our 5 losses is that we have put up 29, 30, 25 points and lost those games by a field goal or under 7 points because, we've given up that last drive that got us there, or because we gave up 28 points off the rip and we're playing from behind.
Yeah, that one thing.
That little thing. It's going to come down to the defense showing up, and we just got word today, on New Year's Day that we're not going to get Jair back. He's done for the season. So losing Jair Alexander as
the secondary
cornerback is a huge loss for us.
What's wrong with him? He's not coming back at all?
His PCL, which he's been nursing for about a month and a half now, and he's been like practicing and coming to practice, and like every time he tried to do a little bit more, it set him back. And so today they called it he's going to get season-ending surgery, and I don't know what the future holds for him. But back to the point, we just won the Super Bowl. It's going to come down to the defense holding one of these powerful offenses that is going to make it there, especially in the NFC. It seems like,
which means it won't be the Steelers making it there. So,
well, I wasn't going to say it, but no, there's just so much offensive firepower in this.
There is.
NFC side of the bracket that it's just going to come down to what defense shows up, and it doesn't allow the most points because the Lions, the Vikings, the Eagles, they're going to get theirs, so you just got to punch back and hope that your defense shows out. So
if you could pick a team that you wanted to play in the Super Bowl, is there a team that you would say, I mean, obviously out of the good teams, right? The teams that will probably make it, like Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, freaking Bengals. I don't know what to do with them. So it's like, I don't know if they'll get in. If they get in, I don't know if anybody's going to want to play them. So they're kind of the wild card. But is there any team when you look at you kind of go, you know what? I would like the way we would match up against the Ravens or whoever that might be.
That's a good question, and I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah, I didn't.
At this point, to be honest, I couldn't tell you. I'm a terrible football fan. I couldn't tell you what the AFC playoff picture is looking like who's sneaking in and who's maybe going to make a run, and who's kind of like. The Chiefs are fraudulent. I'm going to say that on record. You can whatever. I think they're the most fraudulent team this year. Their point differential and margin of victories are it's insane. But I would like to play them. I would like them to get back and people are like, oh my God, and then we can knock them out. It's like, no more.
Fun. Yeah, no, you're not a terrible fan. I think everyone's like, why are you so obsessed with the NFL? And I've realized I like the business side of it. Like, even though they piss me off, even though like they lie and they say player safety and they care about that, they don't. I like I like that it's grown men that have to do a job to feed their families. And if you don't do the job, there's somebody else that's going to do the job for you. And something about that, I'm dialed in because I like it. So you're not a bad fan. I just might be a little psychotic that I try to watch. I try to watch everybody. I'm like, somebody said something about the 49ers, like week 5. And I was like, the 49ers are so bad. They're going to be so bad this year. And they were like, really? And I'm like, watch. So it's like, again, because, that's what we do. Like
my favorite thing, and you talked about like the business side of things and that guy that's trying to get a job. And I love finding gems. I love the draft process and the scouting process. And like, who do I want Green Bay to get? Because I think he's going to be the perfect piece. Or who I think's going to be pretty good coming out of college, and who I think is not. And I like to be contrarian sometimes and say like,
me too.
Everyone's gassing this guy up. I don't see it.
That's how I am with Brock Purdy. Spoiler alert. That's how I am with Brock Purdy.
Well, I went to Iowa State, so.
What do you think about Brock Purdy?
I love him. I mean, when he played at Iowa State.
Do you think he's good for the 49ers?
Well, I hate the 49ers, so like that's a really good question for me. And I had a little animosity for him when he kicked us out last year, so we're in rough water.
Right. Oh my God! But if the kicker makes the freaking field goal,
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, shooting ourselves in the foot,
Right.
but
Right. So you said Iowa State. Is that your college football team?
yep, yeah, that's my alma
Okay.
mater.
Cool.
Mhm.
I obviously being a Texas fan, I know way too much about Iowa State just because like I feel like you have to know them. So
Yeah,
again, I usually don't talk to meet Iowa State fans. So another thing, you're just
there
a
you
bunch of
go.
anomalies for me. You're like filling certain spots in my life that I've never had. So thank you for
Nice, yeah,
providing. Yeah, that's awesome. Like
yeah,
because there's certain fan bases. I'm like, where do they hang out? Where are they?
uh-huh,
Like we were playing Arizona State this week and
mhm,
I'm a nerd when it comes to my teams, and I do the same thing. I watch their content creators. I want to see what they want to see, what they whatever. And I was like, it was so hard to find them because I'm like,
mhm,
where are they hiding? So, but then you know what? Somebody told me Monday. They said the teams I support, Texas, Colorado, and the Steelers are all pretty prevalent
yeah,
teams. So it's
some of the
usually
biggest fan
easier.
bases
Yeah, so it's
in
usually easier to find them. So
right.
maybe I need it. It's my privilege of speaking. So but so is there anything else that you would like us to know about the Packers? What I always say about the NFL playoffs is it's down to 14 teams. In the first week, 12 teams will play. 12 teams that honestly, unless you're a fan of those teams, you won't really know much about the teams. You'll know the
Mhm,
guys, but you
mhm.
won't know like this linebacker group hasn't allowed, you know what I mean? Like all the little things about the ins and outs of the team. Is there anything that you would want people to know about the Packers on when they watch them play wildcard weekend or as we watch them play in the playoffs?
Yeah, there's gonna be some young guys that you're gonna hear about, and it happened last year. We just got young guys that are gonna come out and make a name for themselves. Recently, Edgerrin Cooper, a linebacker from Texas A&M, he's just been
Nice.
balling out, and I love him. I mean, I think he's the future linebacker, and I think he's gonna be a future All Pro. He plays quick, fast, hard,
Oh, okay. I love
and
that. Okay. Okay. I
watch
love
out if
I
you follow him on Instagram. He posts a Michael Myers meme before every game, and you're like,
I
"Oh,
love a
man,
crazy
he's in the
linebacker.
zone. He's in the
Yes.
zone." Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
my favorite. So for
yeah.
for probably the last 3 years, my favorite linebacker group has been Fred Warner
I
and
love Fred. I do love Fred.
and Greenlaw. Like they've like I will watch them. I don't care. I will watch them. And
Mhm.
so I like good linebacker. I'm a Steelers fan. I like good linebackers.
Yeah. So,
I
but,
love it.
like, last year, that's how it was when, like, Jaden Reed was making plays. We're like, "Who's Reed? Who's Musgrave?"
Yeah.
When they were rookie tight ends, and Tucker Kraft's having a heck of a year this year too, and so
Okay.
I'll just say when you're watching the playoffs for the Packers, don't be surprised if someone makes a play and you're like, "Who? Who's that?" Because they're all young and, us Packer fans know them. Like, we know
Of
what they had
course.
for breakfast a week ago, right? But,
Right. What they said in
there's
the second team meeting in training camp.
exactly. But what every
Yeah.
other fan, when they're all watching the postseason and everything, there's gonna be some guys that make some plays that they're gonna be like, "Who's that?" And then, like, in 2 or 3 years, you can be like, "Yeah, I know that guy."
That was that guy. Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, before I end this, I'm gonna punt it back over to you so you can tell us
Okay.
like where we can find you and stuff like that. But I would like to, I live in Texas. I would like to formally thank you for the Packers always beating the Cowboys ass. I would like
Yes.
to formally thank
Yeah.
you for always being the team that I can count on that will take care of the Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys.
We
So
own
it's
Jerry
it's
World.
it's amazing to see. It is
Mhm.
amazing when it happens, and it
Mhm.
makes me so happy every time it happens. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for being a part of that every time. It
You got it.
never
You got
gets old. So thank you for that.
Yep.
So we'll end on you. Is there any? Can you tell people how they can find you? I know you said at the beginning, but how it goes
Yeah, of
sometimes.
course. Yeah, we're on X, at Packers Diehards. Pretty simple right there, right by my name.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 of us. I'm PD Brett. The other 2 guys are brothers, Lucas and Max. PD Lucas, PD Max. We're easy to find. We're always posting on our page on X. We love the memes. We love the funny jokes and the get backs. And sometimes I get a little ahead of myself or a little
Ooh, are
too
y'all
carried
trash
away with
talkers?
stuff. Uh, a little bit. The
I
the
like it.
issue is
Okay.
when we do our podcast, which if I can plug that too, it's we
Plug anything you want. Yeah, this is
our
the time.
podcast
And
is
Go ahead. I'll put in the show notes too, so people can just quick
Okay.
link it as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
our podcast is called PD Uncut, so it's Packers
Okay.
Diehards Uncut, and we're found on all streaming. If you got Apple or Spotify, it'll all be there. So, and we post weekly during the season, and then we'd like to have a little draft party too. So, if you're a Packer fan out there listening, look us up, and hope you join us on some of our streams.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. In the description, I will, and I tell everybody this in like my preview video, I will have all of your information. So I'll have and after this, I'll send you a communication, ask you for all of it when I'm ready, but I will have all of your information, whatever you want to tag, plug, you tell me, we're tagging it, we're plugging it. And I always tell people, I don't know if people realize how amazing it is to be able to collaborate with people you don't know about a shared passion that you have. So however I can be a part of like letting other people know, because I think that's what we should be doing. We're fans. Like fans know more about their team than big media will ever care to know.
Agreed.
Ever. Like big media will tell you the
their
stats.
agendas, you know?
Yeah, and they'll tell you the stats, and the stats are fine, but they will not be able to tell you in the third quarter on the 2nd and 14 what ended up happening was, and then after that, so-and-so limped to the sideline, and because of that, he wasn't in the game, right? It's like they miss that part. They're just like, no, they suck. And you're like, what?
Yeah, because they're trying to cover too many things at once, and it's like, no, but we know, and don't get me started on ESPN, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So that's why I like doing these, like I said, with fans, to really give me a perspective on your team, what you're looking for, and your outlets that you post about your team, because I don't even watch ESPN or any of those things anymore. I only listen to people's podcasts, watch their YouTube channels. And whatever I find on Twitter, like if I see somebody plug something and I'm like, no, that sounds fun, like I'll click on it. I don't care if it's about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want to hear about it because I won't be able to hear about it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Big media doesn't talk about them.
I pay attention to interact with our rivals, Vikings and Lions stuff. I like to know where their headspace is at and everything, and talk trash when we can, when it's hate week.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love a good trash talk.
It's all, it's all friendly. It's all competitive.
Yeah. I love it. If you can't trash talk with me, like we can't interact, because I'm going to talk trash. I don't care.
Yeah.
And if you don't like
it's like fight back.
Yes. Like get up, like do something, like come on.
Agreed.
And then, and I need you to give it back to me. Like don't bore me. Like let me say something and then be like, yeah, well, your offense sucks. Like, yes, like give me something.
Well, that's how we felt with Bears fans, just because we just keep.
Yeah,
you're
like
with
a stick.
Over there,
yeah, you're like, wake up, Bears! Like y'all are supposed to be tough. Like you look really soft and terrible right now. So wake up. Well, awesome. Well, I will end this by also. I'll end this, and then I want to say this before I end this. I keep saying that, but I appreciate you reaching out before this and being like, hey, if you need a minute of this game goes down one time, like because I was sitting there and I was like just getting pissed. And when you reached out, I was like, nope. You know what? Nope. I don't care what Texas has going on right now. I am pissed at them. So, but just like, thank you for the reach out, just to kind of be like, hey, I kind of get it.
In your shoes, and I was like, if Iowa State was playing Texas right now, I'd be wanting the same thing too. So
I was so pissed. That's a whole different conversation for a different day. But I appreciate you just like having the thought process to be like, she's probably a little whatever right now, and I was. So I appreciate I appreciate the offer. But thank you for joining me. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll do some other stuff. And if for some reason the Steelers play the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl, I am coming on that podcast and we are talking about Packers.
You got it. Let's do it.
Super Bowl. And I'm going to be very honest. And people that follow me are like, you're so honest. And I'm like, but did I lie? And they're like, well, no, but
there's too much agreement. There's too much agreement on our podcast. So we need someone to
really?
butt heads with us. Yeah, we're all
I'll come in there. Space. Oh, no. Yeah, I'll come in there. I'll butt heads with you. And the other thing I'll do too is when I go into like enemy territory, I will take the time to kind of research like the things on your team too. So I'll be able to be like, yeah, but what about how you guys play on second down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're terrible at second down. We're just not going to talk about it. So anyways, I don't play fair. I don't play fair. I always come with data.
You gotta.
Anyway, so I appreciate you. And if you are listening to this, you made it to the end of this, don't forget to go in the show notes and click on all the details. From everything that Brett is doing, it will be there. You can find it. You can engage with him. You can talk trash with him if you want to. Or if you're a Packers fan, you can find somebody else that you want to support if you're not already. So thank you for being here. Yeah.
You got it.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
love that. You're welcome. Thank you.